Everyone, it's Drew here again, and today we're going to be doing another data analysis project with Python. So the data set that we're going to be working with today is the data set from Kaggle called the FIFA 19 data set. And if you're not too familiar with FIFA 19, it is a very popular soccer game that revolves around professional soccer and has a bunch of different teams from all around the world, all the top teams. So what we're going to be doing with this project is we're going to be analyzing it and figuring out what clubs have the highest average ranking, as well as we're going to be calculating what nationalities are most common among those top clubs. So that's what we're going to be doing today in today's project. So if you haven't gone ahead and downloaded it from my GitHub, you can definitely download it from Kaggle itself, but you either get it from Kaggle or you can get it from my GitHub, or you can probably just get it from Google just by typing in FIFA 19 dataset. So let's go ahead and get started. Just a quick little thing. We're going to be using pandas and matplotlib and Python for this project. Okay, so if that's something that you're wanting to learn for your data analysis, this is definitely the tutorial for you. So if you haven't already, go to your files, go to upload, and then upload your data set from your local storage. And then once you put it in your virtual machine, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to import pandas. So you got import pandas as PD. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to put your file into your data frame. So you guys say I put it in a variable, and then you just do pd.readcsv, and then you put your variable in there, and then that's what's going to put that into your data frame. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to create a copy of that data frame. This way you don't have to put it back into that data frame again. You could just run this copy cell, and you always have that copy at your disposal. Okay, so if you run FIFA.head, that gives you the first 5 instances. And you see here when we run FIFA.shape, so FIFA is our data frame. That is the name of our data frame. So if you run FIFA.shape and type, and in parentheses you put your data frame, which is FIFA, you'll get back with .shape you'll get back the amount of rows and columns. So you have 18,207 rows and 89 columns. And then with type, you can see what kind of data type that you're working with, which is always helpful to know. So it's a big time saver to know what methods and attributes to use when you know what data type you're working with. Okay, so as you can see, we have 89 columns here, so that's a lot of different things that we're working with. So you see all the different columns we have. We have position, jersey number, their scores in different positions, their curve, their different accuracies, agility, all this different stuff. The columns that we are mainly going to be concerning with today are nationality. I can't highlight one. Nationality, their overall average score, and I went past it, and the club. Okay, so the club, the overall, and the nationality. Those are the main ones that we're going to be concerning ourselves with today. So let's go ahead and group all the top clubs together. So by using the group by method, so our FIFA is our data frame. By using the group by method, we're able to group different parts of the data frame together. So we're grouping all the clubs together, and within those clubs, we're going to take the overall score. So from all the clubs, we're going to take the overall score, and that's what's in brackets. And we're going to take all of those overall scores, because if there's multiple players on a team, each player has an overall score. We're going to take all those scores and find the average of them for each individual team. And then all we do from there is we add a .sort underscore values, and that's just going to put all of these in order. So by making this ascending equals false, that's what's putting this events is at top. So if it was ascending equals true, which is default, events is would be at the bottom right here. And then .11 head just gives you the amount of instances you want from the top of the data frame. So if it was .tail, it would go from the bottom, and the fact that I put 11 in here means it grabbed the top 11, which I was just going to do the top 10, but the fact that Bayern Munich and Benfica tied, I decided just to do top 11. Okay, so essentially these are the top 11 teams with the highest average ranking. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and plot these. So just to kind of go over this, just to make sure that with any sort of output that you do on a data frame or any sort of data type, just figure out what your output is, just so you know what you're working with. So dot shape, we got 11, got 11 instances here, and then type is a series, so we got a series now. So now we're going to create, before we make our graph, we're going to make a list of all the club names, so then we can add these club names to our graph. So we take all these names from up here and we just make them into a list. Now we're going to import our data visualization tools, and we're going to be creating our graph now. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to import, those clubs. So we're going to import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT, and we're also going to import matplotlib.patches as MP patches. So this PLT is what you're going to be using for your plotting. This MP patches, this is what we're going to go over it, but that's essentially what's going to that's what's going to help, or that's what's going to set up this this index right here. So each of these, this green and this Italy label, this is a patch, and I essentially have 6 patches in this within this legend. But I'm about to go over that in a little bit. So what we have here is we have our figure. So we set our figure size here. So I have it as a 14 by 8. By doing fig.patch.set face color, I have this color right here. That's what kind of gives this color right here to the side. Or if I have this as well, I have this commented, but if you use plt.style.use, just take this and paste it into Google, and you'll get a whole bunch of different options. Classic is just one of them, but that it stylizes it even more. It's pretty cool. You even have one that's it makes it look all blacked out, like you do with this virtual machine that you're working with, if you're working with Google Colab. So, or with any text editor, you pretty much have a blackout option. So you can even do that for your graphs, which is pretty cool. So with this for loop I have here, I've had this for loop in different projects before, and I've talked about it more in detail. And I even have the descriptions right here, so if you ever get confused, you can just look at them right here. But essentially, this for loop is what's going to put these labels, these are not labels, but these values on the outside of this graph here. So that's all I'm doing there. So I'm taking these labels, making sure. Hold on. I just want to make sure I'm not doing it. Okay, no, I got this right. Yeah, so sorry, I something caught my eye, and I thought I added something to the code that I was supposed to take out before, but no, it was okay, never mind. I don't know what I was doing. Okay, so anyway, this is the text. So you got your label here, so you have all your different values here. You have your points to your labels, so you have your offset points. All of this right here are just various parameters that you can add and take away from your graph. So this is the so with this XY right here, this is just the teams, right? This right here, this XY. All this is just the teams and the clubs that we put in as our variables. So teams is our data frame, right? And with this text chords, this is our offset point. So this is just telling us how to position, like I have here. This is just telling us how to position it. And this is just one of different options that you can choose. With this XY text, this creates the distance that you have from your graph, so you can space them out differently if you want to. With horizontal alignment, I have it centerized, so you can have it be left, right, or center. So with this plt.annotate, don't let this look too daunting, because seriously, just take this and just paste it right into Google and just see what different parameters that there are, and try it out for yourself and see what works for you. And that's what helps you gain more intuition with this. Well, especially when you're working with different methods and attributes, is to just toy with them, tweak them, and see what each little parameter does. Okay. And the same thing with machine learning. It's like when you're working with different models, the best way to do it is just start instantiating the models, and then start tweaking the parameters and see what works and doesn't work. Okay. So, and then obviously this color, right? Okay, so no, that's not in the one. We'll go to the next line. The next line is bar H. So the bar H creates this bar plot, and bar H means it's going to be a horizontal bar plot. So if it was just a regular bar graph, the bars would be going up. But because it's a horizontal bar plot, which I thought looked more aesthetic, it's going sideways, left to right. And then so I got the different colors here. So I just Googled all these different colors to see what looked right. So yeah, choose whatever colors you want. And then the edge color, that's just another cool parameter that I put in there because it gave this cool little black line around it. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I added that. plt.title, that's the title of the graph. X label, I added a label down here. So if you don't know what these numbers mean, these numbers are just the average overall ranking. So Juventus, who is the top team, their team has an average ranking of 82.28. So out of all the players they have on their team, that's the average score that they have, like, for a player. That's pretty darn impressive. And then so it's the same, and then same thing with every other team. So Napoli has an average score of 80 on their team as far as players, and then Bayern Munich 77, Man U 77.24, and you can see how close these are too. It's insane how close these are. It's just like on any given day, one team can easily outbeat the other. So these teams have pretty close rankings. So okay, so now that we have this graph right here, and okay, so actually I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I don't think I explained everything of this graph. Yeah, no, I didn't. Okay, so I was about to skip to the next step. So we have our X label there, and so now we have these patches here. So by mp patches.patch, if we include a color and a label, this is what we're going to be including within our legend. So our legend is right here. So within this legend, this plt.legend, we're going to be including handles. These handles are going to be these different little patches that we have. So you see we have 6 countries, so those are going to be 6 patches. And within each patch is going to be a color and a label. So this is green in Italy, this is purple in Germany, blue in France. And then so after our handles, then we have our B-box to anchor, which just separates, which is the spacing within the legend, and then the location lower left, that's the placing of the overall legend itself. And then end col, that's equals 2, that's 2 columns. Obviously mode expand, I have it expanded. Border axis pad 0, that's just the spacing of the border. And then title, I have this title as countries for each label. And just like with the other plot, if you get rid of the the comment symbol, I almost called that a hashtag. If you get rid of the comment symbol and you run plt.savefig and then you just give it a name, this will appear over here under your files, and you can just right click and just download it, and then now you have another graph that you have made, and you can add to your your GitHub or your projects. You can show employers, or your friends or whoever you want to. Okay, and then plt.show, that kind of just goes with everything. That kind of, if you don't run plt.show, sometimes you'll get this little heading that appears up here that doesn't really go with the graph. So if you just run plt.show, that just gets rid of it. So this is our graph right here. So as you can see, these colors, I thought it'd be cool to add this legend here so to show what teams play in what countries. So Juventus, Napoli, Inter Milan, AC Milan, Roma, they're all green. And if you look at it, green, they all play, so that means they all play in Italy. So all these clubs are playing in Italy. Purple is Germany, so Bayern Munich plays in Germany. France is blue, so how many blue teams? We just have PSG, so PSG plays in our Paris Saint-Germain plays in France. Manchester United plays in England. And then we have two teams from Spain, Real Madrid and Barcelona, and then one team from Portugal, which is Benfica. So that's our first graph that we made. Now we're gonna, from this graph, we're gonna take out of all these top 11 teams. Now we're gonna be figuring out what nationalities are most common, what player nationalities are most common amongst all the teams combined. So let's go ahead and we print out our teams variable again, and we get all the top clubs with their rankings. And then so from there, we're going to take the FIFA data set and we're just going to extract the clubs from there. So we're just taking the clubs and just saving that into a variable. And we want these clubs, we want this clubs column, so this is just a clubs column, and we want this clubs column to equal these top teams and only these top teams. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take all the top teams and we're going to save them into their own data set. So if you know, so each instance here, is a player. So what we're going to do is we're going to take each player that plays on these top teams, which is going to be a lot of players, but it's going to be a lot less than what we had before. We're going to take each player that plays on any of these top teams and we're going to put that into its own data set. And so by doing that, we're going to be using .loc, which you use, and it's very similar to .iloc. .iloc is used for positions, so it's used to locate different positions like, you know, row and column. .loc is used for more of like a condition. So this condition is if our club is equal to Benfica, or, and that's what this pipe symbol is, or if our club is equal to Roma, or if our club is equal to Manchester United, or, so basically if any of these clubs are within this criteria, that's what we're going to be saving those instances to, which is our countries variable. Okay. So yeah, you just use FIFA, which is our data frame, .loc, and then use brackets, and then you put all that condition, that giant condition within there. So you put all your clubs within there. And then just make sure you don't forget to put parentheses around each condition, and then put a pipe in there for your or symbol, okay? So as you go down here, now what we're going to do is we're going to find, the count of the various nationalities of the top clubs. So by taking that country's data set, so all these countries at the top clubs, we're going to take these countries and we're going to group the nationalities from that data set. We're going to group the nationalities and we're going to take those nationalities and we're going to find the value counts. So from that country's data set, which has all the top club teams, we're going to take the nationality, and with that nationality we're going to find the value counts of each of the nationalities. So by taking, so we're grouping by nationality, but we're also taking nationality, which is right here, and by doing dot value counts, that's finding how many Spanish there are, how many Italians there are, how many French there are, how many Germans there are. So that's what dot value counts. And by putting dot sort values again, you know, as before, that just sorts them from, and when you do ascending dot false, that sorts them from greatest to least. So default is true. So normally if you would print this out, it would print out Serbia at the top here and then go down to Spain. But because I put ascending equals false, It just reversed it. And then as before, I ran a dot head method, and I just included the top 13. So these are the top 13 teams with the most common nationalities amongst the top clubs. So now that we have these, let's go ahead and plot them. So right before we plot them, let's go ahead and make our labels. So these are the labels of all the common nationalities. So all the common countries. Okay. And then now we have our second graph, and let's go ahead and plot that. So we do plt.figure, which we made it a 10 by 10. plt.py, which is going to make our pie plot. Now with our pie plot, we put our top nations. So we put this top nations variable within there. And that's what separates this pie plot. So if you just left this in here alone, it would just be a blank pie plot, but it would have all of these separated. So there'd be no labels, no values in here. It would just look like this with all the colors divided equally. So that's how you separate your pie plot, is by putting your variable within there. So in this case, it's the top nations, which are all these values right here. Second thing is your labels, which we made up here. It's this list. So the labels, I just saved it as labels. But the parameter is also called labels. So if I were to call this countries or if I call this like countries or nationalities, that's what I'd be putting right here. But this would still be called labels. So it'd be called labels equals nationalities. Okay, so don't let that confuse you. With the auto PCT, that's what adds the value within your pie plot. So I made a lambda function that adds the values. So that's what adds that value right within there. So you can study that. So you have your variable, and that's what you're formatting it to. And that's what's actually formatting this. It's actually taking this value right there. And because you're formatting that in there, that's what's able to place that value within your pie plot. And so you can't really see it on here, but with the shadow equals true, it adds a cool little shadow effect. I'm not sure if you're able to see that, but kind of like on the outskirt right there. So that's just for effect. And then colors, you know, that's pretty simple. It's just the colors of the pie plot. And then with the text props, font size is 18. That changes the font size of the values. Okay. And then same thing with before. If you take off the comment symbol, you can save this figure, and it'll show up under your files, and you can just download it. So you have another chart under your belt. plt.show just like before, and then you just hit Shift Enter and you run it, and and then now you have another graph. So that's pretty much all I have to say for this project. That's pretty much all there is to it. If you notice within this graph, there is 22 people from Spain. So, and then there's 15 Italians, and then amongst the top 11 clubs, there's 13 French. There's 10 Germans, 9 Brazilians, 7 Argentinians, 5 Portuguese, 5 English, 4 Croatians, 3 Belgians, 2 Dutch, 2 Uruguayans, and then 2 Serbians. So these are all the most common nationalities among the top 11 teams. So it's pretty interesting to see, especially I really did not predict that the Spanish had the majority of that. I thought if anything, Germany would be the majority, or the French would be the majority, maybe even Italy. But that's really cool to know, though, and that's some cool things you can find out with data analysis. So with that being said, I actually encourage you guys, if you come down here, I say I hope you enjoy this session, but now I am actually challenging you all who's watching this video to make your own project. And also too, I actually have an assignment for you as well, and your assignment is to find the highest rated player for each country above and plot them. So for each of these different sections here, who is the highest rated player for each of these individual countries? So that is what your job is now to find out. And you can do for each of these sections, or you can just do like the top 5, or you can do the top 11 if you wanted to. But yeah, that's just one thing that you can definitely do. And once you do that, definitely take this data set and try to find some other analysis within it, or even perform some machine learning on it. So if you found this project useful, please consider giving it a star on GitHub, and please consider subscribing to me on YouTube. I'm really going to try to bring a lot more projects. I'm sort of working on 2 series right now. I'm working on a Python series and a data analysis series that's going to eventually move on into machine learning, and then eventually move on more into deep learning. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and definitely consider liking the video as well. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a good rest of the day, and goodbye.